Joining us live from Wiltshire is former head of counter-terrorism at the Ministry of Defence, Major General Chip Chapman. Good to speak to you this morning. It's comforting, I think, to know there's a £1.9 billion centre set up that's going to keep us safe. But is this, in your view, where the attacks are going to come from? Do you agree that there is only a matter of time before we get a state-sponsored hack or a group hack that will really threaten our security?
Yeah, that's very likely because the internet and the connected communications between networks was never designed to be contested. That is the actual flaw in the system. And 1/8 of our GDP comes from the digital economy. So it's not a case of if something will get through as an attack, it's when something will get through as an attack. And indeed, it's the volume of these attacks. So, for example, in one of the headquarters that I worked in, there were 750,000 attempted breaches in a week. There were 1.6 billion attempted attacks on US government sites in a month, and there were 7 trillion spam messages sent in 2011, and 49.7% of all messages sent are spam. And if you just click on one of those links, potentially you're infecting yourself with malware, which is either spyware or ransomware, which can take over your machines. That's botware. So very, very likely that something is going to occur in the future.
The new head of this security centre, Kieran Martin, told us earlier that he was warning against defeatism, saying we shouldn't have the attitude that, you know, one of these things is likely to get through. But from the numbers you've been talking about, do we have to face the fact that really we are fighting a losing battle when it comes to trying to stop these numbers because of the sheer volume of them?
Well, the numbers in a sense don't necessarily matter, of course. What is important is that even if you're penetrated, how quickly you recover. And there's never been a sort of cyber Pearl Harbor. So like all these things, cyber is something which gives an attacker surprise, but it's how quickly you can recover from that surprise. Indeed, neither has there been a cyber Hiroshima, so no people have ever been killed in cyberspace. But having said that, in the future, one of the global risks identified in 2017 was the fourth Internet of Things, where you need data governance for that in the future, where we're going to connect 20 billion objects by 2020 without any data security on those. They're very, very insecure, the applications which people are using, including those in the NHS, if we're going to a paperless model there.
We don't want to give people ideas, but give us a sense when you're planning your worst-case scenarios, when you're in your role and when you think about that, what sort of things are you talking about that could really cause damage?
Well, certainly you can alter things in the NHS, so blood plasma would be lost for the future. You can alter patient records in the NHS. You can take over industrial control systems. You could take over shipping. So, for example, if you look at April 2016, 280 ships were coming out of the South Korea, and they lost all navigational aids or the ability to navigate from a hack in North Korea. So the impact on the global economy can be vast, which is why, indeed, one of the first tasks of the Cybersecurity Centre is to work with financial institutions to ensure that the data is not corrupted for those, because this is all about information assurance and data assurance. Corrupt data is a thing which really will cripple the economy and certainly cripple financial institutions in the future, which is largely based on very poor legacy IT systems.
And how hard is it to stay that one step ahead? Because presumably a lot of it is about, right, we've seen this kind of threat, this is how we deal with it. But for the hackers, for the terrorists who are trying to get into our systems, they're always thinking that one step ahead. How can we then do something that will get through, that is not expected?
Well, the first thing, as I said earlier on, is that the internet was never designed to be contested. So if you say that this is a cyber arms race, the attacker at the moment has an advantage over the defender. That said, we're going to a model which is called active self-defense, where you pursue the hacker into his networks. Now, of course, it's very difficult to identify the footprint often of who does this. Is it a state-sponsored guy? Is it an individual? Is it a state-sponsored hacker? So to get some idea of who's doing this can actually be very, very difficult. The other thing is that, of course, there's no international cyber law on this, so it's a bit of a free-for-all in the moment between both state powers and those acting as individuals.
OK, Major General Chip Chapman, good to speak to you this morning. Thanks very much indeed. Very interesting.